Hey, you guys. Movie retrospective time. So what happened with the Patreon thing, and maybe one of you guys did this on purpose, I'm not really sure, but every single one of the 5 movies in there got 1 vote each. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to break this tie. And I've been wanting to do this movie forever, and it keeps coming up in the poll, and it never wins, and I'm just kind of like, God damn it, I'm going to do The Devil's Reign, for Christ's sake. This movie is from 1975. This is kind of like the cult movie to end all cult movies. Not only is it about a satanic cult, but listen to this fucking cast. William fucking Shatner.
Yeah.
The Shat.
The Shat's in it.
Is in it.
And it's a good movie.
Ernest Borgnine is in it.
Yeah, one of his best roles.
With a goat head.
Yeah.
Tom Skerritt is in it. Pre-Alien. Like, he'd been in a couple movies, I think, prior to this, but he's pretty young in this.
This guy that played Dallas.
Yeah. Keenan Wynn is in this.
Yeah.
Eddie Albert is in this from Green Acres. Ida Lupino is in this. Joan Prather, rather. I think it's Prather, actually. She's been on, like, a ton of shit, like, TV. I think she's best known for, like, 8 is Enough. Yeah. But she was on, like, The Love Boat and shit like that, too.
Anton LaVey is in this.
Anton LaVey is in this. And this might be... Is this actually John Travolta's first feature film role? Now, I think he doesn't really have any lines, and you might not recognize him because he has kind of, like, makeup on.
Yeah.
But, I mean, his chin is pretty distinctive. So, like, when you see him at one point, like, you'll probably know it's him. But, yeah, so Anton LaVey was brought in as, like, a technical advisor on this movie. And he actually does kind of, like, a satanic ritual at some point during the movie.
You can see his influence if you ever read Anton's book, Satanic Bible. He describes what a satanic temple should look like and that's what they have in the movie. So they took his advice. It looks futuristic.
I mean, it's inside like an old looking, like a dilapidated looking, like New England style church, but then inside it's like pretty rad, I gotta say.
Futuristic for the late 60s, let's say. Almost kind of like Art Deco, like something out of damn Aliens, kinda.
It's cool looking.
Black and silver.
I really like all the. I really like the stained glass with the little goat head in there. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
The only thing that they didn't do is that the women weren't nude. In Anton LaVey's fucking book, said that when they're doing those satanic rituals that they would do, the women were all nude. I don't think they had any clothes. They just had capes, and they didn't want to do that in this movie, I guess, because they probably wouldn't get the fucking PG rating or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure this is rated PG.
Yeah.
Even though, I don't know, man. It's just kind of like, okay, so I don't know what it is about this movie, because I will say that the story of the movie doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like, you kind of have to keep up with the shit because there's like a lot of like weird plot holes and stuff. But there's something about the vibe of this one, and honestly, for 1975, the special effects in this look great. And I think that might be because it's the same people that worked on the original like Planet of the Apes movies.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably why like the special effects
look really good. It has some good gimmicks in it.
It does.
It's taking place like in a ghost town. Old West ghost town.
Yeah.
And there's one part where I'm looking at it and I'm going, man, where'd they get that old building? And then I said, is that a set or is that the real thing? And I'm looking at it and I recognized it. It must be on Universal's lot or something, Universal Studios or somewhere out. It didn't look like it was out in the desert in California somewhere.
I think it's actually New Mexico.
New Mexico, is that where it is?
I think they shot it in New Mexico.
So it might be a real building. It looked authentic, but I recognized it as the brothel from Red Sun, which is a Western movie that had a samurai in it. Had that one dude from Tora, Japanese actor, real Musafume, I don't remember his name, and what's his name? Charles Bronson. It's a real good movie, and I recognized it from there that it had been used before in other movies. Like,
yeah, it looks like, because when I was seeing it too, even though they set dressed it to look like it was abandoned, I said that looks like an Old West brothel, so it must have been used as that, like,
I recognized
in many other movies, because it's very familiar.
I recognized the hallways, the staircase, the layout. That's the same one from Red Sun. Yeah.
And like I said, I'm sure movie. I saw it, but it was so long ago that I wouldn't have recognized it from that, but I recognized it from like other movies. So the guy that directed this, Robert Fuest, He's a British guy. Probably best known for doing... he did a version of Wuthering Heights back in 1970. He also did the abominable Dr. Phibes and Dr. Phibes Rises Again. He also did Revenge of the Stepford Wives from 1980, which is actually like a pretty good movie if you haven't seen it. I'm pretty sure it was made for TV, but not really sure. But he did some other stuff as well. Now, one of the rumors surrounding this film, I think it wasn't Anchor Bay, but it was, what's that other Blu-ray company that always puts, it's not Arrow, it's somebody, but they put out a Blu-ray of this recently. And apparently, like, it looks fantastic, because the cinematography on this, like, all the desert shots and everything like that are actually really nice.
It's a good flick.
And like I said, the special effects are really nice, too. So there's, like, a lot of, they got a lot of interviews with people, like, behind the scenes. So one of the most... I don't know, like one of the most prominent rumors about this movie is that the director had a nervous breakdown on the set. But they did interview, I guess the guy's still alive or was when they were shooting the interview about this movie. And he said, no, he's like, I didn't have a nervous breakdown. He's like, but it would have been justified if I had, because it was just that much of a nightmare, I guess. Because I guess the two guys that wrote the screenplay and the guy that was the producer, they were just kind of like, look, we just want a movie about Satanists where there's like a big finale where everybody melts, you know? So they're just
I
like,
don't know why what does that have to do with Satanism?
I don't know.
They just want people to
We'll get into it.
Yeah.
But they're like, just write us a story like that. So the two screenwriters that wrote it, like I said, the screenplay is not super, super coherent. And the director was kind of like, this is incoherent. And the screenwriters, no. It makes complete and perfect sense. Maybe if you're high, I don't know.
Yeah.
But he was just kind of like, okay, whatever.
I couldn't understand.
And they wouldn't I mean, I've seen it. I've seen The Devil's Reign probably like 5 or 6 times. And I think I sort of know what's going on. Kind of, but I'm actually not entirely sure.
It doesn't really matter. I just watched
it. Doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. But he's like, whatever, fuck it. I'm just gonna make the movie anyway. We'll try to like figure it out.
It just has a bunch of cool scenes in it.
Yeah.
Ernest Borgnine and the Shat.
Yeah.
But Ernest Borgnine carries this movie. I think this is his best role.
He's great in this.
He looks good too. Usually, you know, when you think of Ernest Borgnine, you kind of think of a portly dude and kind of friendly, big goofy fucking teeth and goofy smile. He's a sinister motherfucker in this one. He does a real good job. He's trimmed down. He just looks like evil. They fucking pulled it off. Looks like an evil goat man. And then he eventually does turn into an evil goat man.
Yeah, so I guess he's kind of like possessed by Satan at that point. And I actually love the goat makeup, like the prosthetics and stuff they did. I think it looks fantastic. Like I said, it's the same people that did Planet of the Apes. Yeah. So you know that it's gonna look good. But I think it looks great. And like his wardrobe looks good too.
Planet of the Apes looked good for its day. Look at it now, it just gets the job done. But I remember when I was a kid in its day looking at Planet of the Apes, I was amazed. Because you know, Gremlins hadn't come out yet or anything, you know. But
I feel like the late 70s, early 80s was like when special effects got like really, really good. You know what I mean? But particularly in with like puppets and animatronics and
they started taking them seriously and hiring younger guys that were way into it.
Yeah, which helps. Yeah, which helps.
Next thing you know, you got the damn alien and the predator and the fucking gremlins and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say that I do love the goat makeup in this, and the melting effects are great. The funny thing about it is that what I said, like the same producer, I think his name's Sandy Howard. He was the same guy that did like Man Called Horse and like some other westerns and stuff.
Flick, yeah.
And and so he was the one that said, I want a movie about Satanists with everybody melting at the end for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe that's his fetish. I don't know. I'm not judging. But on the poster, not on every single poster, but on some iterations of the Devil's Reign poster, it says on the bottom, and I quote, "Absolutely the most incredible ending of any motion picture ever." Ever is what this poster says. Does it live up to that? No. But it's still pretty good. You do get to see like a whole bunch of people melting, and it's funny because the ending scene, this movie is not long. I think it's only 86 minutes, maybe. It's not even 90 minutes.
Action packed.
But the last scene of like all the Satanists melting, spoiler alert, goes on for easily 10 minutes, maybe more. But I guess they spent a lot of money on the melting, so they were just kind of like, fuck it, we're showing it all. It all. It looks cool though.
I have a feeling that Stephen King saw this movie because the beginning part of it with Shat and everything kind of reminded me of something out of the book Gunslinger, where you have a cowboy type guy in the Old West talking to kind of like extra-dimensional demonic type people, and he's got sacred talisman that the demons want, basically. It just struck me as like, I think King saw this, because that kind of
he saw a lot of horror around this area.
Yeah,
he's seen all of them.
Because that kind of setting kind of reminded me of the beginning of The Gunslinger. And the Dark
I kind of
Tower.
feel like a lot of horror movies were set in the desert back in the. Like, so I was watching like another review of this, and they said, yeah, they shot it in the desert because it's free. I guess so.
Free. Yeah, and it's right outside L.A.
And it looks suitably alien because a lot of people don't live around it.
Yeah,
so.
a couple hours drive outside of L.A. In those days, they didn't have big traffic jams. You know, I was growing up there when I was a kid, you know, in the fucking 70s and very early 80s. I left at 81. And spent all my summers in Mississippi, but the rest of the time I was in fucking Long Beach, California. And no, man, my dad used to take me out to the Mojave all the time. And they had traffic, but it wasn't as bad as it is now from what I hear. And you could just get in a car, and about 2 hours later, 3 hours later, be out in the middle of the fucking desert. It was a fun drive, too. Big, long, straight roads.
I feel like deserts are a good setting for particular types of horror movies.
Yeah, and then you can just drive off the road and find fucking campsites where people were down inside those valleys and those mountains, and just park your camper there and hang out for 3 or 4 days. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
I was having fun running around shooting lizards with a BB gun.
Don't shoot lizards.
You used to shoot them with a BB gun.
They didn't do anything.
You're a little kid, you know. I'm going to shoot the lizard.
I never did that when I was a little kid.
I was hunting lizards.
Because I wasn't mean. But yeah, so again, from the Blu-ray release, because I was watching like another kind of breakdown of all the extras that were on the Blu-ray. And apparently there were some interviews with some members of the crew, like the script supervisor and like the producer and other people like that. One of the things that made me laugh was that somebody on the crew, I can't remember who it was maybe one of those two people, said they remembered working with William Shatner and saying that William Shatner loved himself way more than it is like healthy to love yourself.
That sounds about right.
And I was like, yeah, that tracks. Yeah. Also, according to another member of the crew, the Shat was kind of jealous because Anton LaVey was getting all the press for being in this movie instead of him, even though he was kind of like the star of the movie. Yeah. Although I would argue that Ernest Borgnine is actually kind of the star of the movie.
I think he is, yeah.
He's because William Shatner, spoiler alert, he kind of gets like satanized like halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
And so he's not in it as much because he gets turned into like an eyeless acolyte.
That actually surprised me. I thought that he actually was defeated halfway through it. But because you think he's going to be the hero.
He's not, though.
Not really, no.
So that's kind of good. They kind of go in an unexpected direction.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the fact
Borgnine carried the movie. He's actually the star of this movie, if you ask me.
Yeah, because once you know, you're 10-20 minutes into it, like Ernest Borgnine's in pretty much the whole thing.
Yeah, which made me think that this is probably Borgnine's best role.
And I think that he didn't really take it all that seriously. Like, he was like, that was something else that somebody on the crew said, that when he like looked at himself in the mirror with the whole getup on, because he has like a cool like satanic robes and shit, like it's red, and maybe with the goat head and stuff, he's looking at this going, oh my god, they can't be serious.
But he couldn't see it.
But yeah, to his credit, I mean, he's a pro, and he just like went in there. I thought he looked badass.
Looked good,
I thought he looked really cool, like in that outfit. But you know, maybe it was that. I will note too that William Shatner, because he got turned into like an eyeless satanic acolyte or whatever, like halfway through, and there's one like really iconic shot where you see him and he doesn't have the eyes and everything, and if you're thinking to yourself, oh, that looks like Michael Myers mask from Halloween, that's because that's what that was. The Michael Myers mask from Halloween was a William Shatner mask that they cut the eyes out of. So if you kind of see, I think that's the thing, the William Shatner mask, it wasn't from this movie, though, was it? It wasn't from The Devil's Reign.
I think it was from Star Trek.
I think it was from Star Trek, but they just cut the eyes out. But the fact that he has like the eyes out with the big socket.
Yeah, he looks like that mask.
He looks like that mask, so that's why. Yeah, so let's talk about... So here's the thing. Here's what happens in this movie. We're going to try and sort it out. It's kind of complicated.
We're going to try to sort this shit out?
We're going to try and sort it out.
All right.
Now, I will say that the movie, it starts really strangely because it starts like really like in the middle of stuff and you really don't have any idea what's going on. Like pretty much they start with the Shat like coming home to his house and Ida Lupino is his mom. And then there's like another old guy who lives there, but that's not...
They're the same age.
Yeah, it really does look like they're kind of... I mean, she doesn't look old enough. I'm sure she's probably in her 60s, but she doesn't look old enough to be his mom, because I was just kind of like, wait, is that his wife or his mom? Like, who is that? And then, like, he called her mother, because they don't really look that different in age. Sorry. I don't know what the actual age difference was, but they didn't look that... It didn't look that far apart. So she's in the house, and then there's another old guy there who's not his dad, because his dad... They're, like, freaking out because they're like, well, where's Dad? He went off to, I think Redstone is the name of that ghost town. He went off there or whatever, and we don't know where he is, and, like, there's a storm coming and blah, blah, blah. And then they're talking about, like, some book, and then they're talking about this guy named Corbus, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on? So then the dad shows back up, but they're like, hey, it's Dad, but it's not Dad because he has the eyeless kind of shit going on. And then it starts to rain, and he melts. Like, completely melts. Like, down into there. I'm just like, oh, well, there goes Dad. We're just gonna have to, like... I saw, like, Brandon Tennell did a review of this, and he's like, well, I guess we're just gonna hose him off the driveway. Or put him in a bucket or something like that. So, okay, so they figure out this satanic cult has got their dad, and then their dad melted. So William Shatner gets mad, and he's like, okay, well, they said Redstone, and they said Corbus, so I'm going to go there and see what the fuck is going on. Because there's a thing where he goes outside to his truck, and then there's, like, a voodoo doll of his mom on the steering wheel, right? And he's out there for, like, 2 minutes max. Then he goes back in the house, and the old guy, who we don't know who the fuck it is hanging upside down, and he's all bloody and stuff, and his mom has been kidnapped. Like, so that happened, that had to be, like, supernatural, I'm guessing. Because he just, like, literally went out to the truck, saw the voodoo doll, and then went back in, and then all that shenanigan had happened. And he didn't see anything happen. So there's that. So he's like, okay, well, the satanic cult have, like, kidnapped my mom, and they killed my dad, or they still have my dad. That wasn't really his dad, because the melted, I don't know. So there's that. So he's like, okay, well, I gotta go figure out what's going on. So he goes and meets Ernest Borgnine, who looks normal. He's just, like, in regular cowboy shit. But I had thought that they knew who Corbus was because he knew the name. But then when he goes and starts talking to Ernest Borgnine, he's like, well, I'm looking for Corbus, or I'll only talk to Corbus. He's like, dude, I'm Corbus. And he's like, oh, okay, fair enough. And then they decide they're going to have a faith-off, right? Yeah. So there's this old church in the middle of the desert, and he's like, well, you have to come in there, and Shad's like, I'm going to go in the same way I, came out, or whatever the hell. So I guess they're going to do whatever faith Shad is. He's Jewish in real life, but I'm sure it was probably...
I think he's adopted, though.
Or something to do with, like, Christianity or something. I don't know. But Ernest Borgnine and his acolytes are Satanists, obviously. Yeah. So he's like, okay, well, come in here, and, if you leave the same way and you still have your faith, then I'll give you your mom back and your dad back, or whatever. So he goes in there, and then there's, like, they start doing the satanic ritual and whatnot, and then, like, Shat starts reciting prayers and shit like that, but then, like, all the other acolytes kind of jump on him, then he starts shooting at him, and they're just like, I guess your faith wasn't that strong after all, blah, blah. And then they eventually, like, capture him and start, like, putting him up on the altar, and he's like, like, overacting and whatnot, and they cut stuff into his thing and turn him into one of the things. So he's not the star of the movie, he's not the hero. Then what happens is they jump very abruptly to a parapsychology lab?
Yeah.
I guess?
Yeah, I actually like that part.
Yeah, I did too. It was just kind of like, but like I said, if you're watching the movie, you're just like, what the fuck? Who the fuck are these people?
You got this parapsychologist in there. It's supposed to be Shad's brother, but it's actually the dude who played Dallas in Alien 1. The ship's captain.
Tom Skerritt, yeah.
Tom Skerritt.
And his name is also Tom in the movie.
Yeah.
So that's handy.
Yeah, and he's actually good in this movie. Really
he
good.
Is, actually. I like him a lot. Yeah. So actually, Tom Skerritt and his wife end up sort of being the heroes, because his wife... what's her wife's name? The wife's name is Julie. I think it's Julie. And she's psychic, just, because. And so they've been at this university and studying her psychic abilities. And also Eddie Albert is there. I guess he's like Tom Skerritt's mentor. Like he's a parapsychologist or something. I don't know.
Let me say something.
What's that?
Having grown up in the LA area during this time, and having Lois being part of the fucking university system and everything, the shit about that you see in these movies about parapsychologists being in the universities, Absolutely true.
Yeah, they did used to.
Absolutely. All the universities had a parapsychology department.
I think only a couple still do.
Well, all the big ones I think had them, but I don't think they have many more. Dude, I think it's all.
Well, when I wrote Unseen Hand, I think there were 3 like major. No,
okay.
in the country.
Okay, in California, all the big universities had them. UCLA, I believe, had one, and USC, and but they had them, and I think they were getting results according to Lois, and Dr. Penner, her boss, who was who was in the Palomar Observatory and everything, friends of Carl Sagan. They believed that stuff, and I think that helped to foster the environment, because I grew up believing in that, because that's my parents and my aunt and everything who knew scientists, and they said it was real, and I think that faith in it is what caused the paranormal events at Mammoth Mountain that we wrote the book about, and the stuff that happens in here. Believing it allows it, I believe. I've seen it, so. And evidently so does the military. They had Project Stargate. They did some other stuff, and a lot of this stuff kind of went underground. But yeah, I believe the military and knows about it, remote viewing and stuff. Anyway, sidetrack, but just saying that the parapsychology element of this story is accurate. That's the way it was back then.
Well, I kind of feel like the late 60s, early 70s were kind of a hotbed of not only paranormal, psychic ability type movies, but also Satanist movies. Yeah. So this kind of it seems like it's trying to combine the two things.
It might have helped fuel the satanic panic.
It did, absolutely. It started with Rosemary's Baby, but after that, it just kind of ramped up and ramped up. Because after Rosemary's Baby came out and was like a big success, then everybody's like, "Ooh, we need a Satan movie too."
Yeah, because if psi abilities if there's evidence for psi abilities and that they're a reality, then that means bad behavior, like shit happening in satanic rituals, could, in theory, activate evil psi abilities, which that would be witchcraft.
Yeah,
that's like the dark side of the force, and they believe that. And so do I. Yeah. And I don't think it's as extravagant as it's shown in the movies. Had to get up there and put a picture back up.
Yeah.
It was weird. Anyway, maybe we should change subject.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have this kind of parapsychology element coming into it. So it turns out from this point, Tom Skerritt and his wife are the heroes, because it turns out that he's Shat's brother. I keep calling him the Shat. His character name is Mark.
He gets mad when
Mark
you call
Preston.
him the Shat too, I think.
Well,
fuck that dude.
Well, he's not listening to this right now. He's in his 90s.
He went to space.
He went. Yeah, he did.
He went to space.
So yeah, he went to space. So he doesn't give a shit what all his Earthlings say.
Dude's in his 90s. He's fucking long lived, isn't he?
He is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe there's something to that, self-love thing. But that being really in love with yourself. But yeah, so it turns out Tom Skerritt, I guess his wife has a vision about the family and about they're in trouble or whatever. So Tom and Julie have to go to Redstone and try to save the family. Now, let me see if I can parse this out, because there's some point, and I think that Julie, I guess they made her psychic just so they could have exposition type stuff happening, so you could see shit that happened in the past and whatever. It turns out that Corbus, Ernest Borgnine, he is, I don't know if he's not immortal or anything, but I guess his ancestors, he's kind of been possessed by the devil for hundreds of years or whatever. So he, back in the 1600s, I guess, he had this book, and it had all the names of the people whose souls he had sold to Satan or whatever, and it was all written in there in blood, even though it's clearly a pink marker, but whatever. So it's in there in blood, and apparently William Shatner's ancestor, whose name was Martin Fife, I think, he stole the book from Corbus, back, or his wife did, or something, back in the day, and then, so he ended up getting burned at the stake, Ernest Borgnine's character, dressed like a pilgrim, because they do that too. But then Martin and his wife also, didn't they also get burned at the stake? But the thing about it is that Ernest Borgnine is yeah, Satan's my bro, so I'm going to curse you forever, and I'm just going to haunt your descendants until I get that fucking book back. So he basically just wants this book that William Shatner's family has. So that's kind of what the thing is. It doesn't really make a huge amount of difference. I don't know why he needs it. I don't know why, because he has another thing that's kind of like a big Fabergé egg with a TV in it.
Yeah, this is like
sort of.
This gimmick here is pretty cool.
I kind of like the way that they do it, though. It's kind of like this big egg.
Fabergé egg with a fucking goat head on top.
And it's got a goat head on top that's like gold. And it's got goat feet also.
Yeah.
And then like it's got a hole in the middle, and then like they put a TV in there. Like you could tell it's a TV, but it still looks really cool.
Yeah, they got a cool kind of like round lens on it.
Yeah.
And it's like a color TV in there, but that's the soul entrapment device. He's got all the souls trapped in there. People trying to like the Phantom Zone out of fucking...
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Out of fucking Superman.
But I think that the Fabergé egg with the souls in it, I think that thing is the Devil's Reign.
Okay.
I don't know why, like, the soul containment device is called the Devil's Reign.
I don't understand why is it called that?
I don't know. Okay. See, that's what I'm saying.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. But yeah, so the thing about it...
the Devil's Nuts.
I mean...
The Devil's Egg.
Yeah, you'd think it would... Like why would it be called the Devil's Egg? That would have been a cool title.
Yeah.
I don't know why rain. I guess rain because they're like, well, we want everybody to melt at the end.
Maybe.
And like rain, rain
on cheesy shit.
Water melts like the Wicked Witch of the West and the Wizard of Oz. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, you're so bad, water melts you.
I'm like, yeah, no.
Fucking stupid.
It's just like the aliens from Signs. But yeah. Which I don't think they melted, but yeah. But so I guess the egg is called the Devil's Reign. So after like Tom and Julie get there and they're like, oh, our family's fucked. They're all eyeless and weird looking. And they figure out that not only that Corbus is like looking for the book, but also they figure out, hey, maybe if we destroy this Devil's Reign egg thing, then all the people's souls will come back. I guess that's what they were shooting for, I think. So they actually do end up doing that, or he talks William Shatner, who is still kind of possessed, into doing it, into like breaking the egg. But then when he breaks the egg, then it makes it rain outside and all the acolytes melt like into horrible. Another thing too is that, and I kind of made this joke when we were watching the movie, but you can shoot at the acolytes, like it'll kill them and stuff like that. You could shoot at it, but like the stuff that comes out of the bullet holes looks like pistachio ice cream.
Yeah,
which I thought was funny. I'm like,
they didn't want to show blood for some reason.
They're full of pistachio. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's kind of why this got a PG rating, even though it shows people straight up melting and like satanic worship and.
Yeah, it was all pink and blue.
Yeah, it was like orange and like lime green. It looked like sherbet.
Yeah,
it looked like it looked like they shot him and like two flavors of sherbet were coming out of the bullet hole.
They were just trying to get asses into seats, get everybody to come see it.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like
so they didn't want an R rating, I guess. So this is how they got around to.
Yeah, and they did a good job doing that because like it's still pretty gross and goopy and everything like that, but it doesn't look bloody, which is so funny to me, I guess, because I think that's kind of a thing. I don't know like how accurate this is, but a lot of times people are like, well, we want to make kind of like a gross movie.
It's kind of like an American Hammer horror film in a way. You know what I mean? That level of fucking gore, which there isn't much gore at all, really. Didn't have any boobs though.
I don't think there was any other than Shats.
Hammer, Hammer will come at you with just some gorgeous European chicks to get you fucking come in there and pay that money and sit down in that seat. And this movie, they didn't try that angle.
No, they were just like Satan,
right?
And melting, and goopy people, Which, like I said, the melting looks cool. In a goat head.
Goat head, yeah.
We keep saying
the goat head looks good.
We keep saying a goat head, but it's not a whole mask. It's prosthetics. Like they put it on his face.
Yeah.
And then he's got like big horns and like big goat hair and stuff. I think it looks cool.
Yeah, and you can see his eyes and he can talk through it and everything. It looked good.
Yeah, I thought it looked really cool. I thought it looked really cool. But
it doesn't look real, but it's not supposed to. It's all fantasy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's fine. It's fine.
Like something out of damn Sinbad or something.
Another thing I like about this one is that not only do you get 10 minutes of a bunch of Satanists melting at the end, but also the Satanists kind of win. Yeah, come back. You think they lost, but then they make a comeback. Yeah, and it's just kind of like, it's pretty fucked up. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't really understand... It doesn't matter. The mythology behind it. I don't understand why... I think they pulled it out of their ass. Well, clearly, like I said, maybe, I don't know, maybe like the screenwriters were just maybe like, whatever, it made sense to them, clearly, or they were just too lazy to fix it. And they were just like, yeah, it makes total sense. Just roll with it.
Just roll with it. It makes total sense. Don't worry about it.
I mean, it sort of makes sense. I get the whole thing about, this is a generational curse. The Fife family had the book, and Corbus is trying to get the book back because he needs it for some reason, for some ritual or whatever. I don't get why the Devil's Reign is an egg with the souls in it. Like, I get that thing is a thing that exists. Like, we make the satanic acolytes and then their soul goes in this doohickey here. But I don't know what that has to do with rain, other than we just want to make everybody melt at the end.
They pulled it out of their ass.
Yeah. So it's just this is one of those movies. It's on Tubi at the moment if you want to watch it. It might be other places too, but that's where we watched it. And it's been on there for like forever. This is one of those movies where... one, it kind of starts in the middle of everything, and you'll just be like, what the fuck is going on? Who are these people? Shit like that. But just, like, sit tight. It's sort of explained. It's just fun because the cast is great. The effects, the makeup effects are great. Like, it's really the cinematography, like the desert settings and stuff like that are really cool looking. Honestly, I think this has... with the guys, like, the people with no eyes and, like, all the melting and stuff, it has, like, some really creepy imagery. It just has that kind of, like, mid-70s, like, creepy satanic vibe to it.
It's a fun movie. Just kind of like Gargoyles.
Yeah.
Gargoyles is similar.
Yeah.
It's a desert movie. It's got a satanic vibe to it, but it's mostly fun. And it does have creepy elements to it, But I put this up there with, like, maybe Gargoyles. But it tops Gargoyles.
Yeah, I think this is a bit better than Gargoyles.
It's got Shat in it, and it's got the dude from Alien, and it's got fucking Ernest Borgnine just fucking chewing up the scenery. It's his best role.
He's having a great time.
Yeah, it's his best role.
And like I said, I think he looks cool as a Satanist.
And he looks fucking badass. and you never see Ernest as a fucking villain. But
Not usually.
He's a really good villain.
I mean, he's been in fuck tons of movies. Yeah. Maybe he played a villain in another one that I haven't seen. But yeah, usually he plays kind of like a schlubby, friendly guy.
Yeah, he doesn't look schlubby. He's very fucking kind of sleek looking in his face, and it's just the way you just got to see it.
He's using his eyebrows for evil for a change, as it was as intended.
Right.
Because he does have those fucking great eyebrows.
And he's still not skinny or anything. You know what I mean? Just he looks real fucking menacing. Doing his best fucking Ernest Borgnine, the bad guy. And he did make a good bad guy. He did make a good bad guy.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool, like, because he just gets to play, like, very...
Friendly Bob. He's usually Friendly Bob. And,
he gets to play, like, real sinister in this one. Yeah, but also kind of, like, hammy, hammy sinister. But it's fun. And, so... and all
doing satanic prayers and shit.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it.
Doing sorcerer shit. He does a good job.
But, yeah. So, this is just, like, a fun movie. Just have a few drinks. Don't think too hard about it because it doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah. But
just drink, watch.
Yeah, just drink and watch it. It has, like, really cool, kind of visuals to it. Yeah. I don't know, and there's just something about, like, these era satanic movies that I really like.
Yeah, you can see that it's heading into the era of, what was the Amityville Horror? You see that those movies are coming. It's leading up to that. You can see it in the movie.
Yeah. And it's fun to see. It's fun to see Tom Skerritt in this, like, so young, because this was 4 years before Alien.
Yeah,
like,
he looks to be the same age to me, but
yeah, he doesn't really look that much. I mean,
he doesn't look that much.
His hair's a little bit longer, but that's about it.
He does a good job in it.
Yeah, and like I said, he's kind of ends up being the hero.
Yeah, he's kind of playing the same role in a way. He's like Dallas, really. It was not a big difference.
That's true.
He's probably playing himself,
Yeah, because she's like, what's all this satanic bullshit?
Yeah,
let me come here and, like, fucking find... Yeah, it's like, I kind of like
Get him, honey.
But yeah, so, The Devil's Reign, go watch it on Tubi, or, if you've seen it, like, talk about it in the comments. But yeah, I really like this movie, and, I like satanic movies from this era. So that'll do it for this movie retrospective. We'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.